It really started with losing my sister a couple of years ago, and I wanted to write a song about her and about losing her, and because music is my therapy always. I always write songs to get me through, and Amy helped me with Grace and Gratitude, and I was also going through a very difficult time, and that album got me through a lot of stuff. So I called Amy about that, and we wrote a song together, and Amy was very involved in a lot of people going through difficulty, postpartum depression after having children, and we started talking about grief and what a commonality it was of grief, and Amy was saying, you know, there's not enough to help people through music-wise, and I'd written this song for my sister, and Amy and I wrote it together, and she introduced me to a friend, and I put it down as a track. Then all my friends wanted this song, so I was telling Amy, people want this song that I wrote, and it was a very simple, very personal song for me. And we started talking, and Amy was saying, you know, there's not enough music about this, and I hung up the phone with her, and I had one of those flash moments, and I said, we need to do an album about this, and we should ask Beth to be a part of that.
I know all of you probably have had this experience when a woman calls me up and says, I just got diagnosed with breast cancer. I remember calling a woman who I didn't know and freaking out on the phone, and I always tell someone who calls me and says, what do? I say, you know, I give them whatever advice, and I say, there's going to be a day when somebody's going to call you, and I want you to remember this. I want you to think about that day, because you have a very good chance of being very well, and, you know, like that looking forward. That's what has been so powerful about this project, because we have gone deep into sadness to pull the emotion into this music. But the final feeling of this record, from one end of the spectrum to the other, is an incredible sense of moving forward.
This transition from sorrow to joy that can take so long, and I think that's what people don't realize. They think there's something wrong with them.
Right.
That it's taking months or years or decades to make the transition. But for me, the beauty, and this week I have been the crier. Okay, that's been me. Normally I do concerts and people make them weep in my audience, but I've been crying all week long. You can see from the puffiness here. Because for me, and I have a fresh loss. I lost my mother just a little over 3 years ago. And the journey is to find meaning, to somehow find meaning in what it seems like your lowest moment in your life. And music, I think, can be a bridge for people, for their hearts and minds, and also a sacred place to hold those feelings that you can hardly put words to.
You know, one of the first songs that we wrote was Stone in My Pocket, which was a title that you brought in, Olivia, and I love that. There's this hard spot, you know, and you walking around and you can feel it in there, and it's just a spot of, you know, you can go and touch back in on that stone and go, yep, that's, you know, that was this huge loss. You don't actually get over it, you know. You just learn how to live with it and move forward and go back into
you move on.
Your life.
You live on. The people we love would want us to do, and I think that's also the message. There's also a lot of guilt sometimes when you lose somebody about, you know, how can I enjoy myself and how can I go to... But life is such a gift, and we have to remember that you have your sorrow and you have your loss, but you have to enjoy that moment, because you don't know when your last breath is either. And also the grief thing, you know, for a lot of people, I have friends who say to me, you know, that I had a fan, strangely enough, who said to me one day, you know, I lost my son, and I went back to work a week later, and they expected me to be, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you over it? And I was traumatized for this poor person, that there was no compassion. I think for people to understand that grief is such a personal thing for everybody. And another one of my friends who lost her husband said, you know, the Europeans, the Greeks have it right, the Italians, they wear black for a year, and people understand, I'm in grief, I'm in mourning, please let me be, and don't expect me to be life at the party. And there's something to that we need to respect people's grief and understand they may want to be alone. That, you know, it's a process, and I hope that these songs are going to help people.
And I love the idea, though, that it's not something you get over. It's just something you learn to live with and incorporate into your life.
Yeah.
And I heard, I don't know if one of you told me this image, this is brilliant. They say grief is like a suitcase that sits at the end of your bed. And every morning you get up and you have to carry that suitcase with you. Some days it weighs 1,000 pounds. and some days it's as light as feathers.
Oh, yeah.
And what I
That's brilliant.
hope is that this CD for people will be a way of making the suitcase light as feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. It somehow just blended together. It was just magical. Those few days, we had all these ideas of topics that we wanted to get across, and we discussed topics and what are the themes we want to talk about that affect everyone. And I think we covered it, the spectrum. We even talked about, losing a family member, a friend, or moving house, or losing a job, or there are many, many different forms of grief. There's also losing a pet, which is just as special for people and just as important as losing anyone in your family. So we've covered all that, and I know there's many more to come. There's maybe album 1, I don't know. But it was a beautiful healing process, and these girls are just amazing writers, so I was just so thrilled too.
Show around. I didn't shave my legs, but we can fix that in Photoshop.
But you see what I mean by the
Yeah.
Close.
So, yeah.
Well, you're tall anyway.
Wait, I'm gonna fall off. I don't have the right feet for that.
That's perfect.
Should we each grab one of Olivia's boots?
Yeah.
Here, wait. You wrinkled it now. When you bring your hand.
So get in close. That's pretty.
Do you want my
Do you
fingers?
like this? And then we're gonna
away
get one
from
that's
Olivia.
close. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's cute. Amy? It looks good.
Smile with teeth when you smile.
Yeah, but not when I'm trying to smile with teeth. This looks really good.
Big smiles.
I just feel so much better now. You can even turn that off. Stop sweating anyway.
We have time?
Yeah,
Just
let's
the
do it.
3/4 one?
We have like a couple
Let's
minutes.
do it quickly.
There's like no way to find it. But I give it.
I know.
Oh, man.
Can you put your chair up?
I'm here with my face.
Grace and gratitude, okay? Just sing thank you for the, okay? Thank you. Now, listen to what I'm doing, and you're going to do this with me, okay? You're just... You sound so good, Dave. Maybe we'll go that last part. Give him the sunshine, yeah.
Are we gonna be doing that?
And all I feel is all for everything I stand in, all lead to one simple truth. The center
of pain.
live on, brighter skies will come again. Would put us to the test. Oh, my heart in you, my heart in you.
This guy's got the right idea.
Getting a good workout at LA, you know.
To brighter days. Sad and dark. Apart from a few words, I'm quite happy with it.
It's fantastic.
Which is rare for me to go.
I tell you what.